You hesitate over things other people decide in seconds. And you hate that about yourself. You're standing there, phone in your hand, staring at two almost identical options. And suddenly your chest feels tight, not because the choice is hard, but because it feels dangerous. Like whatever you pick will say something permanent about you. You tell yourself it's just a small decision. But your mind doesn't hear small. It hears consequences. It hears future regret. It hears the quiet voice that whispers, what if you choose wrong and don't realize until it's too late? You replay past moments, tiny choices that somehow turned into big pain. You remember the time you trusted your instinct and it backfired, or the time you didn't think enough and paid for it later. So now you think more and more and more. Your brain tells you it's protecting you, that hesitation is wisdom, that delay is intelligence, but deep down it feels exhausting. Because even when the choice doesn't matter, your body reacts like it does. You imagine the future versions of yourself, one who chose option A, one who chose option B. You imagine how each version might fail, how each version might be disappointed, how each version might look back and blame you. And suddenly, doing nothing feels safer. At least if you don't choose, you can't be wrong. That's the trick your mind plays on you late at night. You lie in bed, lights off, room quiet, and the smallest decisions come back to haunt you. Should I have said that? Should I have gone there? Should I have chosen differently? You replay imaginary conversations. You rehearse explanations no one asked for. You prepare defenses for mistakes that haven't happened yet. It's like your mind is always one step ahead, trying to prevent a future pain by reliving every possible version of it now. And the strange part is, you're not afraid of failing loudly. You're afraid of failing quietly, of making a choice that looks fine on the outside, but feels wrong inside later, of realizing too late that you ignored something subtle. So you scan every decision for hidden meaning. What does this say about who I am? What does this lead to? What door does this close forever? Even simple things feel heavy. What to eat? What to reply? Whether to go or stay home. You notice how other people move through life so easily. They decide, they change their mind, they move on. And you wonder how they live with that uncertainty. Because for you, uncertainty feels personal. It feels like standing on thin ice. You don't trust that things will work out. Not because you're pessimistic, but because you've learned how fragile moments can be. You've seen how one small choice can echo for years. So now, before you move, you freeze. You wait for clarity. But clarity never fully arrives. Instead, your thoughts get louder. What if this is the wrong version of me? What if I'm about to repeat a pattern I promised myself I'd escape? And the worst part is, you're not indecisive because you don't care. You're indecisive because you care too much. You feel responsible for protecting your future self, for sparing them regret, for making sure they don't look back at you with disappointment. So you carry all that weight alone. No one sees how much energy it takes just to choose something ordinary. They don't see the mental debates, the quiet panic, the need to be absolutely sure. And when you finally do decide, there's no relief. Just another question. Did I choose for the right reasons? Even after the decision is made, your mind keeps checking the receipt, looking for proof you did the right thing. And when you don't find it, you feel that familiar ache, that sense of being tired without doing anything. You tell yourself you should be better at this by now, that adults shouldn't struggle with choices like this. But this didn't come from nowhere. Somewhere along the way, you learned that mistakes were costly, that being wrong meant losing something. Approval, safety, love. So now you try to be right in advance. You try to think your way out of pain. But thinking has become the pain. And you know it, that's why you're listening to this right now, because part of you is wondering why something so simple feels so hard. And part of you is afraid that this is just how you are. But there's another layer to this, one that doesn't get talked about much. You're not just afraid of making the wrong decision, you're afraid of trusting yourself. Not because you're weak, but because you've watched yourself change. What you wanted before isn't what you want now. What felt right once doesn't feel right anymore. So how do you trust a self that keeps evolving? You don't know which version of you should be in charge. The cautious one, the hopeful one, the tired one, the one who just wants peace. Each decision feels like choosing which version gets to win, and that feels strangely final. So you delay. You wait for a feeling that feels clean, certain, unquestionable. But your feelings are layered, complicated, quiet. They don't shout, they whisper. And whispers are easy to doubt. At night, you ask yourself why you can advise others so clearly but freeze when it's your own life. Why you can see their paths but not your own. It's because you're inside the maze. Every turn feels loaded with meaning. You imagine how one decision might lead you further away from who you could have been. How another might trap you in something comfortable but empty. So you stand still, and standing still becomes a decision too, one you didn't consciously choose. And that realization hurts in a quiet way. Because you know time is still moving, even when you're not. You don't want control, you want reassurance. You want to know that no matter what you choose, you'll be okay. That you won't abandon yourself. That you won't judge yourself harshly later. That you won't replay this moment at 3 a.m. wondering where everything went wrong. So you overthink. Not because you enjoy it, because it feels like the only way to stay safe. And yet listening to your own thoughts this closely has started to feel unsafe too. Your mind never rests. It carries unfinished decisions like open tabs. Even now, there's probably one choice you've been avoiding, one that feels small on the surface, but heavy underneath. And just hearing it mentioned makes your chest tighten a little. You don't need to name it. You already know what it is. You've been circling it for days, weeks, maybe longer. And part of you is tired of circling, not because you want to rush, but because you're tired of living in the almost deciding, almost moving, almost trusting yourself. There's a quiet grief in that. The grief of all the energy spent on choices that never got made. The grief of all the nights you went to sleep mentally exhausted without anything actually happening. And yet there's also something gentle here. Because the part of you that hesitates is the part that cares deeply. It's the part that doesn't want to hurt you. It just doesn't know how to protect you without keeping you still. So it holds on. And maybe tonight, as you listen to this in the dark, you don't need to fix that part of you. You don't need to force a decision. You don't need to prove anything. You can just notice how heavy it's been, how much effort it takes to live inside your own head, and how quietly brave you've been for carrying all of this alone. There's a strange comfort in realizing you're not broken, just careful, just tired, just human in a world that asks for certainty when certainty was never promised. And maybe for now, that's enough to let your shoulders drop a little, to breathe without planning the next step, to rest in the truth that not every decision needs to be made tonight, and that even when you don't know what to choose, you are still here, still listening, still trying, and that counts more than you think.